I can also come in and get other information here when I'm in the discipline activity. The discipline statistics is going to show me how many times the student has had what type of infraction. If I click on the occurs, the first time I click on it, it's going to be ascending, so all the zeros are first. If I click on it again, it's now going to be in descending order. So it's going to let me see what's going on. The involves here is the drug, alcohol, violence, weapons, or bullying. You can see incidents involving victims, whether they were the victim or the offender. You can, if they were, you can look at the victim report. You can look at the action side of it. And things to remember is this will normally default to the current day. So you might want to change this to the end of the school year because your numbers might change. If I again go with the occurs, I click on it once, pause, click on it again, I can see that Amy has 4 detentions. There's been 2 sets of 5 demerits. There's been a conference and so on. So it lets me see what's going on. Now I might want to, rather than have how many times a 5 demerit was given versus a 2 versus a 1, you might alternately just want an action rather that says demerits, and then use your units to indicate how many, rather than seeing, here's a 5, here's a 2, here's a 1. So it gives that option to be able to come in and see what's going on. The flag that's here is your in or out of school suspensions and so on. Just gives you a different way to look at the information. The discipline note has to do with an overall what's going on with the student, not that applies to either a specific infraction or action. So this could be something that's going on in the student's life. Maybe there has been a death or an illness or a divorce. It could be that the student is on medication that could potentially cause mood swings or is used to control the mood swings. Whatever it is that's going on overall in the student's life. The view history lets you see all of what's going on based on the infraction. So the date range is on the infraction of what's going on with the student. So the top line that's on the left is your infraction. The indented items are the actions. If there was a note, you would just see yes for the note, but it will show you what's in the extended description. The last of these tabs is the mail merge tab, and we'll be going over in a little bit how to do a mail merge, but this has been set up so that it has a certain letter that it's ready to work with and a report form that it can work with, and what it's going to do is based on today's date. This could be the disciplinarian. And you have an optional note that can go on the bottom. You can flag any students whose letter is printed. This is a mail merge function so that you can track, how many times the letters have gone out. And if you were going to do that, then you would want to put in a tracking letter. So you could see how many letter 1s have gone out. So if that was a fighting letter versus a suspension letter, you can have different things going on. This is one of the few times in the system where the output option by default always goes straight to the printer, figuring that if you're in here, it just gives you a nice quick way when I hit merge print letter that it's going to go straight out to the printer and I'm ready to have it signed and go out. You do have the option, you can come in and say you want to preview it versus sending it to a PDF or even to email it. So the nice thing with the email is it can be, set up to automatically email to the parents. So it goes right out. And my email options lets me only those eligible for email, but I can say, for selected students, email where I can. Give me a piece of paper otherwise. And I can even opt, even for the ones I'm emailing, give me a piece of paper anyway. The email address you're going to see here is the email address set up with your user account. And, this can be behavior. It can be whatever you want for a description. You can enter a little message with that, see attached. See the attached disciplinary report, and you can put whatever you need in here. The tracking is so that you can specify into the work area of your user whether this was, for the students selected, whether it was email or printed. I can also opt just to preview the letter instead. So when I do the merge print for that day that I specified, I will be able to see the things that have been going on. So the first one I had the detention. The second one I haven't done anything with yet. Happened to be the same teacher who reported it. Your action taken can include the dates if you want, not just that there was a detention, but you could then put in starting and ending dates. You would just have to change the modification of your letter. Because we're putting in things like the dates, the infraction, the teacher, or the action, I want to use a non-proportional font such as Courier so things line up. If I used a proportional font, Times New Roman or Arial or something, I would see this waver all over the place because I have different lengths of description. Something to think on. Okay. You can, of course, use the stack of folders to locate the student, to figure out which one you want to, add this information to, so that you can see that sort of information. If I go back to Amy, if I go up to the printer button, that gives me the ability to print the history. It will default first day of the calendar to the current day. You can opt which of the items you want to include, including a student who is their different information, so that, including those that are inactive in discipline, because usually you're only included if you are action in the model, in that particular module. This is also where you can set up the information that you want to be able to see for the teacher portal. So under attendance, there is a view student discipline record. And what this does is, based on what you have here, it can include the extended infraction description. That was like if they had an uncovered book, what book it was. But it isn't going to include the notes unless you specify that's what you want them to see. So it does give the ability to see how much of this is available. So if I go ahead and print, the student range is inactive because when I set this, I came from the student editor, and it always knows what student I'm sitting on. So I can just go ahead and print, and I would see that information of the various things that are going on for Amy here. And in her fight in the parking lot, she also used a bat because that's under the weapons area versus the drug alcohol. So I can see what information was there